All right, ladies and gents, welcome to this video. One of my favorite quotes is by Aristotle, and he said that knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, which brings us to why I'm talking to you today about the Kolbe A index assessment. It's another test similar to the Clifton Strengths 34 assessment, but different. This is a test that will be able to tell you how you take action. What is your modus operandi, which is a Latin phrase for basically what are your working habits, which in other words can be translated into how do you take action. So super important if you're an agency owner or entrepreneur, or if you're an intrapreneur, somebody working within the company that's trying to help scale the company, knowing how you operate is extremely important, because if you don't, potentially you'll have a manager or you'll have a boss or someone who comes to you, or you'll have a team member that you hired if you're an agency owner, and you won't be understanding how this person takes action. You won't really understand why this person approaching this project in this way. This is how I would approach it. Why can't they just approach it like me? That's the wrong paradigm. You need to understand that there's different ways to approach things, that everybody has a different MO, which is your modus operandi. So very important video, very important assessment. I recommend you take it. The insights that you get from getting your entire team to take this is tremendous, and the insights you get from just yourself taking this is tremendous, although I recommend both. All right, let's get into my personal Kolbe A, which I want to share with you, and the test assessment cost and many different other things. Here's actually the three things we're going to cover. I'm opening up the Asana here. Reviewing my test results. 2, how is this different from Clifton Strengths test or a personality test like Myers-Briggs? And 3, profiling your ideal hire based on a Kolbe A index test result. So first of all, this is the test cost. It is $55. Kolbe A Corp. I don't make any money if you buy this test. This is just me recommending this to you. Now here's me. Congratulations, Taylor, etc. Now there's basically 4 sections, or Kolbe action modes as they call it. And I'm going to scroll down here and skip. So these are mine personally, but the 4 modes you have are the fact finder, the follow through, the quick start, and the implementer. Now, I like the first 3 more. This one is less important for myself personally, given that we're running an agency that's remote and we work online. And we'll get into that in a second here. But primarily, this is my 4 test results. So let's start with I think this is how basically I gather information. Okay. So the way that I deal with information and what's best for me, etc., I'm an 8 on this scale of 1 to 10, which means that I specify. So my process or way of dealing with information is I'll get as many facts as possible, as many specifics as possible. I want to know everything and any little detail. I'm very detail oriented. Right now we're trying to build a reporting dashboard software and hire a developer, and I can tell you that there's many little details that probably don't matter that I'm accumulating and I'm trying to understand, etc. Now, I have to balance this with 80-20 because it's kind of a double-edged sword. And this is what's really beautiful about this, is that when you realize that, hey, I'm a person who's a complete fact finder and I try to get as many specifics as possible, it opens my mind and allows me to think, okay, that's also a weakness, because depending on how the necessity of the facts, etc., maybe I'm spending too much time on something, and I can just I can just simplify it and focus more on the 80-20. So the way that I like to operate is I be precise, I rate probabilities, I correct errors, I define differences, and I question frequently and thoroughly. I do not generalize or make snap judgments or give yes or no answers or answers off the top of my head, and I never decide without prioritizing reasons. So this is how I operate, okay? Now, beautiful, because we have people in our company that are right here. They get the overview. They're the complete opposite of me, and because of that, they have strengths in different areas that allow our business and our agency to grow in different facets of the business, etc., and it helps kind of balance out the team. There's this thing called neurodiversity, which is a beautiful thing, which I think it's Toby Lutke, the founder of Shopify, talks about, and it's a beautiful thing to make sure you have people that operate in very different fashions. So number 2, when organizing, you have an instinct to systematize. I don't think this is any surprise to anybody who watches this channel. Don't let others force you into doing it their way. Again, this is the whole purpose of this test, is for you to understand how you operate. And if you're an entrepreneur working within a company, you can get this test. You can go to your CEO, your manager, whoever is your direct report. And if there's issues, if there's drama, if there's situations where this person says, hey, you should be looking at it like this, and that clearly does not align with your MO. Again, I'm going to say MO a lot. Basically just means your modus operandi, how you take action, how you operate. Well, then what that manager is saying to you is basically wrong. And they need to realize that there is a way that you can approach this project within your MO. Or maybe they gave you this project and they shouldn't have, because it's a project that requires someone who really understands systems, someone who really is a complete fact finder. And it doesn't require someone who's a multitasker or someone who gets the overview. Again, it's a beautiful tool as well for the managers within your company, or for anyone within your company, the CEO especially, because you can have a big project and you can go through the team members' MOs and say, oh, this person would be great for that, this person would be great for this. I'll give you a classic and very prime example. We're going on a team retreat to Mexico, into Playa del Carmen. We just booked an amazing house. We really went all out on this thing. But part of taking these MOs and taking the Clifton Strengths Finder test was that there's this person we hired recently who basically has an affinity for ideation, which is, she has a very strong strength of ideas. And also her MO in different areas is very suitable for basically building an itinerary and planning out, certain things that we can do, and just putting in an itinerary for us at this team retreat. And so for me, I probably, had I not gotten the personality tests of this individual that's in our agency, I may not have felt comfortable just, trusting them to build an itinerary. However, I feel extremely comfortable, and more than comfortable. I feel like that she's the best person to be able to do that. I know that I could do it. I know that someone else could do it, but given her strengths, given her MO, it's a beautiful thing. And I think it's the best, she's the best person on the team to do it. So systematize, I design systems that organize everything. This is different than, again, these other two categories here. I'm just going to burn through mine. Examples of things that I do versus things that I don't. If you want to read that, you can pause this video and read that. Here's one that's kind of nice. I like this. In the midst of uncertainty, you shine because you stabilize. So this is kind of how you deal with uncertainty. Okay. Now me, I'll always stabilize. I like to stick with what's already working. So if COVID-19 happens, I'm not thinking about trying to launch some crazy new marketing campaign to sign clients. I'm thinking about, hey, what do we already have that's working? How can we triple down on what's working and try to scale that? Again, within a certain context, everything is a double-edged sword, and that may be a positive, that may be a negative, which is why you want to have people you want to have a neurodiverse team, because I don't want to just have a team full of people that's stabilizers. I would love to have a team full of people where we have 2 or 3 stabilizers, we have 2 or 3 modifiers, we have 2 or 3 innovators, and we can all come together and have a strong debate about what is the best plan of action, POA, for dealing with COVID-19 and dealing with this situation. Because when that happened in March, our revenue dropped about 30-40% or something in that nature. We had to cut a lot of retainers. We lost 1 or 2 clients. It was a turbulent time. And so we were able to kind of just talk about it, and through neurodiversity and through our diverse team, come to a conclusion, and we come out of it and have had our best year ever. So it's beautiful to have neurodiversity. You don't want to just hire people who think exactly like you. How you deal with uncertainty is actually quite certain. What I do is I avoid chaos. What I don't, deal with oddities. Again, you can pause this video if you want to read this. Now, this one I don't necessarily think is vital for what we do. Although it's important, but I like the other 3 a lot more. So how you show what you mean is part of your charm. You're perfect just the way you are. I mean, basically this is getting at how you can view things, more or less. So I'll envision things. I'll picture how things could work inside my mind, which I think is very common for people working online in the laptop, because it's kind of like your mind is in this blank digital matrix-like space that doesn't necessarily exist in the physical, but it exists in the digital, more or less. So actually quite a few people in our company are in this 1 to 3 they envision zone. And then, if you go down to the opposite of that, you have construct tangible solutions. So this is more so someone who is going to build something in the physical, maybe like a carpenter or something. Now, maybe I'm looking at this wrong, and if you're a Kolbe A expert / coach, you can help me guide me through this one. By the way, when you do buy this test, there is a coach that comes with it if you have any questions. But the middle one is keep things working the way they should, and they'll restore and keep things, kind of more or less maintained. So maybe I'm not fully understanding this one again, but I don't really value this as much as the other 3, personally speaking. So things I do, I see solutions in my mind, visualize possibilities, conceptualize what could be. I do not take responsibility for maintaining equipment, demonstrate the use of mechanical stuff, take apart small appliances. So you can see what this is talking about, build many physical models. This is why I don't think it's as valuable for us as an agency, because it's referencing to a lot of stuff like using your hands. And I mean, the only thing we use our hands for in our agency is to freaking type. We're not building, stuff like with materials like wood and granite and all this other stuff. We're just literally building with our minds. So I like the envision, maybe restore too, but mostly envision given that we're digital. So it tells you your time and energy, which is kind of a beautiful thing, where your mental energy goes, and kind of your 100 ergs, what they call it, of mental energy are equal to the energy available to every other human being. And it kind of tells you, hey, where you should spend your time based on more or less this is kind of like your strengths, and I prefer the Strengths Finder, Clifton Strengths Finder, for identifying your strengths. But this kind of just tells you that the intensity of each of the things that you have within these sectors, more or less. Again, you can pause this video and read it to get a full understanding of this. Let's see, trusting your sense of time. It's tough to allocate your time, etc. Using according to your MO, so forget sometimes management advice. Yeah, so this is basically trying to give you some insights into using your time. That's pretty much it. Those are the most valuable insights for me, is those 4 sections. The rest of this, it's so-so. How you should use your energy, your use of time, but the 4 cognitive strengths, this is what I love the most, and this is what I recommend you take this test for. Okay, so coming back into Asana, the other 2 things we wanted to cover. So I went through my test results, and hopefully that can give you some strong insights into the value of this test. But how is this different from the Clifton Strengths test? So if you watched that previous video where I talked about the Clifton Strengths assessment, that is telling you your strengths. Okay, it's not necessarily telling you how you operate or how you take action. It's just telling you your strengths. So what's funny, though, is that there's this minor overlap in the sense that, I'm very much systematization is my thing. I love to specify and find facts. And if you look at my Clifton Strengths Finder, logic and basically dealing with numbers is one of my number 1 strengths. Learning is one of my other strengths, etc. So it is very different. There's a minor overlap, but Clifton Strengths tells you your strengths. Kolbe A tells you your modus operandi, which is how you take action. Okay. Now, a personality test is way different. This is not a personality test. The Kolbe A is not a personality test, and the Clifton Strengths is not a personality test. These 2 things, although they have questions similar to that of a personality test, they are very much just assessments that will basically tell you your strengths and your MO, modus operandi. A personality test like Myers-Briggs can tell you more stuff related to your feelings and more stuff related to maybe how you would operate in an environment and setting, and like what might motivate you. Again, it depends on the personality test. I'm not trying to specify a Myers-Briggs. There's DISC assessments. There's many different things. But I do recommend you also throw a personality test into here. Myers-Briggs is fine. I've heard very great things about DISC, although we haven't had our entire agency take DISC. I've only taken it once, so it was a year ago or so. With that being said, that's the difference between it. Now, the third thing is probably the most important thing if you are, if you're running an agency, which hopefully you are if you're watching this channel. The value of getting these tests done, getting everyone in your company to do a Kolbe A and everyone to do a Clifton Strengths Finder, is that you can kind of vet people and hire people that have similar strengths to your top performers. Now you might be thinking, Taylor, this goes against what you said about neurodiversity and hiring people that have complete opposite, MOs so that you can build neurodiversity. Well, think of it within a certain context, right? If you want to hire an account manager and account executive, and for us, we noticed that, we definitely need to hire someone who has the ability to multitask, okay? And it's within a certain context. So if we want to hire an account manager account executive who's gonna manage 10 clients, well, then we want to basically try to find someone who is, they're good with multitasking and shortcuts. Okay, this one is less ideal. This one is definitely not ideal. We definitely want someone in here who can shortcut and multitask, because if you have 10 clients, it's a lot of multitasking. It's a lot of time management, and you need to be really good at that. For me, I'm like someone who wants to design systems that organize everything, and if I have 10 clients, dear Lord, like I'm not, my MO just does not really align with like 10 clients. and being able to split my time across 10 different accounts, etc. So you can see what I'm getting at here is, as your agency progresses, what you should be looking at is the certain traits of top performers within your company within certain contexts. Again, someone who develops shortcuts and multitasks may not be the best person for taking on 1 to 2 or maybe 3 really big clients. Okay, maybe it's better to have someone who is in the maintain section or the systematize section for someone who's going to manage really big accounts. Again, that's just because it's within the context. I'm speaking out of the lens which I've seen, which is in building our own agency. Remember, the territory is not the map. That's a good mental model. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, I recommend you just Google it. Territory is not the map mental model. And I'm speaking through my experience in scaling my agency, which is going to be a distorted lens, and it's not going to be equal to yours. It may be similar, but it's not going to be the territory. It is very much the map. So that is what you want to do with these tests. Ideally, is once you've taken them all, start to begin to jot some notes down to profile ideal hires for different sections of your company based on the data that you have. Don't just trust my word and take my word for whatever I'm saying, because what's ideal for us is going to be very different for you. So, ladies and gents, there's only one thing I ask from you. Okay, if you found value in this video at any point, I just ask you to click the subscribe button. That's it. If you don't have an account on YouTube, sign up, click the sub button. It's the only thing I ask for. It's very much appreciated. Every time I see that thing go up, it's just like an insane amount of dopamine shot through the arm, through the IV, into the brain. And that's why I do this. I do it for the dopamine. I do it for no other reason. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. Much love, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.